So finally have a chance to sit and build with you after knowing you for, actually, you know when the first time I met you, like I met you, it was wintertime, and me, Selwyn, Guy, and Mark, maybe Guy wasn't there, we drove down to Philly to your crib.
Was I still in the loft?
Yes.
The big loft.
Yeah, and all I remember, there were records like everywhere in there, and y'all were making beats like all weekend. Yeah. And that was my introduction to Rich Medina.
That was the early Marksman weekend.
Yes. That was like, I think 2004, somewhere around there. Yeah, in that area. Somewhere around there. Like, how did you meet Mark and Selwyn and get into that whole fold?
Oh man, well, your brother, Selwyn Hines, I mean, anybody who considers themselves engaged in the culture as a fan and a patron in the 90s, the Source magazine was a figurehead for all of us. And Selwyn was the guy in the masthead who made the hard-body decisions about how things look and what the content of the magazine. So my personal relationship with your brother started with being a guy that reads the masthead. Who's making the decisions about the way this thing is laid out and editorial, and who's writing for who, and so these names make up a mix of people who decide what's 5 mics and what ain't. Interesting, you know what I mean? So my real direct personal relationship with your brother comes from there. Your brother and Mark Hines, of course, went to Princeton together, and I personally met Mark through another mutual friend named Sheena Lester. This was during, I think Mark had just got finished building 360hiphop.com. They walked me up in this office in Tribeca in Manhattan with a zillion iMacs.
Right, the color iMacs with the
color joints.
Yeah.
And which was, you know, at that time was like seeing a cell phone for the first time, you know, for us. But I met Mark as the guy that built that network for Russell Simmons. So I met Mark Hines and Selwyn Hines at a very, very high altitude in both of their toolboxes. I didn't meet them through my toolbox. It wasn't until I became friends with Mark's wife and she put us in front of each other, and we realized how many other, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees of separation type of relationships there were, that it really gelled. And yeah, we never looked back from the day we became friends.
You think 360 hip hop at that time was like ahead of its time? Like the world, or at least the hip hop world, wasn't ready for that type of creativity and content vehicle?
I don't know if I would go so far as to say that they weren't ready, but I do think that Mark Hines has a particularly forward-leaning vocabulary with regard to what's next in the world of technology and people tying information together. I think Mark is a guy, you know, there's experts that talk about trending and you have to do this to be a good marketer and blah, blah, blah. That's what an individual does with the system. You know, Mark's the guy that makes systems. So, you know, it's a whole different head, you know what I mean? And I've learned so much from that guy, just listening to him unpack a point that has to do with a technical decision about what machine you should buy or what program works better on this or iOS. You know, he's that dude. So yeah, I firmly believe 360hiphop.com was light years ahead of its time.
You know, for me, I guess at the time being 20, 21 years old, I would always remember like Selwyn saying, or Simeon even saying, yo, you gotta go get your computer built out. Mark gotta do a new build on it, do a Marksman Build. And I didn't know what that shit meant. All I knew was when I got it back, like the shit was flying. It was like a supercomputer, you know? And I think, you know, if I had that type of thing now as a DJ now, because I wasn't DJing back then, all I was looking for were for Marksman beats and just trying to rap, you know? But if I had that now, I think that's something that could be revolutionized even now, not only from a DJ standpoint using laptops, but from video editing, just anything that makes your laptop, your machine move at a higher rate. And I don't know, because I don't really speak to Mark much nowadays, but I don't know if that's something that he is doing or would he consider doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all still function within the Marksman Build. Those of us that have remained connected to Mark and who have bought into that system of machine organization, there's still a large swath of people from the time that you're talking about that are still fully engaged with Mark and the Marksman Build philosophy and approach to setting you up so that you can be faster. When you said it's about you felt your machine faster. I would say you felt more efficiency because the way that your machine was organized allowed you to get to the point faster. And that's the rub with Mark. He can set you up like that and you don't even know you're being set up. And
I've never met anyone else who does that. Like nobody, who constructs these machines and makes it, for lack of a better expression, more user-friendly. Like to me, he's always been like a genius.
Customize a laptop. Anybody can go buy a laptop, but to go have it customized to your needs and to your skill set, even more importantly, what you think you need and what you really need, they're more often than not, they're two different things, right? It takes a coach or a Mark or someone with that type of vocabulary who's got an aerial view to kind of line you up and keep you from coloring outside the lines. You know what I mean?
When you started DJing, well, how old were you when you started DJing? Like,
man, when I actively started DJing, I was 11 years old.
Oh, okay. So let's say not that far back, but professionally, when you got into it, like when you made, your first check.
First time I ever played records in a venue that was 21 and over was Silk City in Philadelphia on 5th and Spring Garden. And I did that with three brothers. The two brothers that ran the party, which were DJ Dazier and King Britt. And my man, who I grew up DJing with from grammar school, DJ Mike Nice, who I believe you also know, Mike from Philadelphia. Mike and I grew up together in Jersey. So we've been breaking needles in each other's basement, from childhood. Our moms know each other. We go back like that. But yeah, professionally, I mean, played Sadie Hawkins dances and park jams growing up, just like any other working class DJ.
Before Serato and the whole introduction of the digital.
Full analog.
Yeah.
Full analog, yeah.
How did you feel when that shift came from analog to now everything is based around the laptop?
I mean,
like, do you remember that?
I remember vividly. I was a very late adapter to digital. I was a late adapter to CDJs when they hit the marketplace. I was a late adapter to the idea of plugging a digital machine into this analog cockpit that I work in, and it's going to give me what my records give me. I was just like, completely dissonant.
What is that thing that your records give you? What is that?
Stereo, friction, dynamics and frequencies and vibrations that come from friction, from a machine that touches an object, and that object causes that machine to behave with a disposition, a real disposition that's going to affect your emotions. Friction, the needle sitting in the groove and pulling across the vinyl, that it's cooking on the stove versus a microwave. They're different, but for simplicity's sake, or for analysis sake, you can put it in that same context. So, stereo sound, man. You know, we got ears on each side of our head to hear in stereo. At the time when the technology was moving forward at first, MP3 technology wasn't what it is now. You know, the difference between what a 12-inch record, a 7-inch record, an album cut, or an EP sounds like is already variables that you're dealing with as an analog person. 100-gram vinyl, 80-gram vinyl, 120-gram vinyl. 12 inches are usually thicker and heavier, and that's why they boom. Albums are, depending on how many songs, the album's gonna be pressed really thin to get all those joints on there. So all those variables come into the way we're touching people, you know? And you're touching people with this stuff, these things. When you talk about it, people think you're getting all preachy and all hotep about it, but it's really not that. It's the truth about sound and frequencies and vibrations and friction and what it does to the human condition.
Do you think the you know, we're sitting here in Story nightclub, you know, South Beach, Miami, you know, this is one of my residencies I play in every Thursday. Do you think the public, the crowd goer, the party goer, they're drunk, they're high, they're doing whatever, do they know the difference? Would they know the difference if there's an actual real vinyl being played versus an MP3 Serato coming through a control vinyl, coming through a CDJ, coming through a controller? You know, at that point, do they have the trained ear to even tell the difference? Like, oh, this doesn't sound.
The average patron doesn't have a trained ear to say, the sound in this room is too bright. There's too much mid-range. I know my ears are going to hurt tomorrow. No, the average person that's there is not thinking like that. That's why it's the duty of us to think like that for them.
So that they don't, experience, they don't suffer, right?
From it. Even with the graduation and the forward movement of MP3 technology, an MP3 is still chop off the top, chop off the bottom, compress the rest, right? So you don't hear the finger slides on the bass. You don't hear that deep breath before the big vocal run that closes the point. You don't hear it. It's not there. The nutrition, those components that make what we do so powerful, some of them have been removed from the playing field. So that I've come to accept the technology, and I've come to appreciate it and really use it to my advantage. But even in using it, you know, stay out of the red. You know, basic fundamentals, please excuse me, thank you. Push-ups, jumping jacks, the basic protocols that we've gone through as athletes, as students, as children, whatever. All the crowd don't know, but 2/3 of the jocks that are in here rocking are bleeding the skin out of that mixer every night. So that, you know, garbage in, garbage out. Whose fault is it that the people don't know any better? It's our fucking fault. It's the venue's fucking fault.
Right.
So
because we're not dishing it out to them in a way that they should.
Eat a burger off the ground in the back of a restaurant. Sonically, a great deal of the time, no matter how big the club is, no matter how much money they make, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like a hamburger that was thrown on the ground, slapped on a piece of bread, throw some onions and some shit over it, and pass it through. And because the nigga don't know no better, he thinks that crunchy stuff is in the burger meat, but it's dirt. Same thing.
You know, when I started 2008, you know, I got my start at Classic Sundays at Love Hate. You know.
Shouts to Love Hate.
Yeah, Self-Born, Mark G, all those, Johnny Walker Red, Ferg Fresh, Ferg Fresh. When I started, I got a lot of backlash, I guess, in the first couple years. From, you know, people on Twitter or, you know, whatever, basically saying, and I actually saw a post about somebody talking about someone else the other day, basically saying if you never had to carry crates, then don't talk to me about your DJ life. And I thought that was interesting, because I was like, we can't control when we're born, and we can't control the advancement of technology, right? So what is somebody who is born 10 years ago that starts DJing in 5 years, who has no type of recollection of what it is to go to a vinyl shop and buy, you know, they're learning in the digital age. Are we to fault that person because of when they came into the culture and in, you know?
Absolutely not. I think you're spot on in that, in the idea that can't help when you were born, can't help when you were conceived. And I think that the dynamic that you're talking about has a lot to do with people who grew up in an analog time, watching people grow up without analog, without stereo, like what we were talking about before. And there's a passion tied to that because it's an enormous component of our history. It's an enormous component of our cultural makeup as people of color. The way we deal with music and recordings and what it has meant for us, from the gospel world all the way to the secular world, all the way to the spiritual world, to Santeria, Yoruba. You could go on and on and on with how music has been such an important component of our culture. And as pieces of our culture get washed into this technological, homogenous space, this cats that are holding on to that, like, you know what I'm saying? They really gripped onto that. And I think that the messaging, particularly in hip hop, and I might be going on a skinny branch saying that, but particularly in hip hop, in my experience, the messaging to the younger generation is fucked up messaging.
I would agree.
I can't say to you, if you've never carried crates, I don't want to hear about your DJing. That says that I'm living in a world of absolutes. I'm living in a world of ultimatums, ons or offs. And, you know, it's not like that. The question is, can you make that technology behave in a manner that would make an old analog dude like me want to spend my hard-earned bread to come hear you?
Mm-hmm. I said this same shit to someone I was having a conversation with. I said, I am so passionate about the shit that I do because I look at it as somebody taking their money that they worked hard for all week and deciding I'm gonna go out, maybe take a lady friend out with me, we're gonna go pay for parking, I'm gonna go buy drinks, they could choose not to do that shit and stay home, but they do that to come hear me play and support what it is that I'm doing, whether it's in a big room like this or it's in a back of a small lounge or whatever it is. And I'm just like, I don't know if there are many DJs currently that treat it with that same kind of passion and love and understanding of what it takes for the audience to want to come out and do that shit.
I think there are a great deal of DJs that believe in the support that they get and count their blessings and focus on their craft and focus on getting better. I believe that there are a great deal of them. I believe that the examples that we see of poor behavior and under the bright lights of stardom, or poor behavior due to drug and alcohol abuse or bad behavior with just believing that your shit don't stink, you know, those always stick out like sore thumbs. And at this point in my experience, I would find it hard to say that there aren't jocks out there that relish what they have and take care of the people who take care of them. I do think that there are a great deal of jocks out here, whatever side of that fence they're on, that don't have business acumen. And by acumen, I mean a firm understanding of the 80-20 rule. Meaning, you get 80% of your business from 20% of your customers. The people that you're talking about is where your fucking business is. Maybe a few of them you put on your guest list because they physical and they light the space up. But then there's others that, you know, your whole relationship with them is in the club. You don't even talk, you don't know their name. But every fucking Thursday, he comes in at such and such o'clock. He comes to that side of the booth. He gets your attention. You give him a pound. Y'all go through this ritual. Now it's cheers, where everybody knows your fucking name. Now this guy takes ownership. He feels responsible for your space being a healthy space. Whatever level it might be. Whether he's a dancer, whether he's a goon that come in here because he don't got to do goon shit, and he would look out for you and do goon shit for you, God forbid, if it came around. There's a full spectrum of motherfuckers that exist in there. The people that you're talking about, to me, represent the cluster of people that you pay a little bit more attention to over there.
Get the 80 out of them.
Well, they are the 80. They're so consistent that you just voluntarily brought them up. You know what I mean? And it's just a tweak. You see that little tiny tweak in that language? You're right, but it's a twist in the language. They are the 80. You know? I have people in New York like, yo, man, that's a long guest list. I'm like, yeah, I've had a long career too.
Yeah, exactly.
No funny styles, no ego.
Right.
But, you know, if you've been in the business 10 years and you're complaining about my guest list in a room that the bread for my pay and stocking the bar is not coming out of your pockets, that's just an opinion. And opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one, and most of them stink.
Right.
So whatever.
Right. You know, I made sure when I started that, because I think I'm right on that cusp of being old enough to relate to the generation after me, but obviously respect the OGs in it and do what I can to have as much preservation of the culture and the craft that I see in my own mind for it. So I always told myself, like, I'm gonna become this DJ, I'm gonna use turntables and that's it, and that's my preference. Obviously, not everywhere I go, I have that ability. You know, some places don't even have turntables, so I have to resort to CDJs, controllers, what have you, and I've become proficient on all of them. But when I did a Master of the Mix, the VH1 show a few years ago, there was a guy on there DJing with an iPad, and this is 2013, I think.
I remember.
And I felt, I was like, you know, here I am 4 or 5 years into the game and felt like I had the audacity to be like, the fuck are you doing, man? That's not DJing and da-da-da, you know? And then, you know, fast forward 5 years after that, I'm like, does it matter what equipment you use as long as you move the fucking people?
Funky is funky, bro. Funky is funky. It's like basketball, man. You could be in the hoodiest hood, and some white boys pull up. If they look athletic and they don't look like they going to get some drugs, they're gonna be respected. They're gonna step into the space. They're gonna eventually get picked up in the run. And if they couldn't play ball, why the fuck would they have the audacity to come to a place like this? You know, it's a similar thing with our game. You know, I mean, it's one of the few places that's truly colorless and timeless and classless in the correct way, and without caste or those type of rules or judgmental parameters that the world moves under. You know, music will set your ass free. It'll set your ass free or it'll sit you down. You know, the rest depends on how much liquor and alcohol and whatever other drama is going on in your life, but as two things it will do for sure.
It's weird, you know, you bring up liquor. I recently decided to stop drinking for as long as I can. You know, actually today is actually day 50 with no alcohol in my body for the first time in 11 since I got into the business. And you know, and that's 4 or 5 nights a week, sometimes 2 parties in one day, going ham.
How's that working out?
I think it's made me a better DJ. You know, I think it's made me sharper, you know, more connected. Not that I wasn't connected to the room before, but for me it was more of, I used to think that I needed alcohol in order to do this. So I would start every set with 2 drinks. Like, before I even, let me get 2, just to
take that.
Okay, now I'm ready. You know, and 2 became a number that it should have never got to. God forbid I mean, you know, praise God, I never had a DUI or anything like that. Driving home 5 in the morning, Miami, we close at 5. Not like other cities that shut down at 1, 2 a.m. You know, so I've been spared that way. But I'm at a point now where I'm like, nah, I don't need it. But when I felt like I did need it, it was because I would look out into the crowd, right? And it's 1,000 people in here, but I see like 7 or 8 of them that are like not moving. I see somebody on the dance floor, you know, with their arms folded, or, you know, a couple chicks that sit down, and I would always shift my focus to those people, those 7 or 8 people, instead of the other 983 that are having the time of their lives. And I didn't know, is that something that is customary with DJs? Like, is to worry about who's not vibing as opposed to who is? Or like, how do you, being such a legend in it, how did you navigate, or have you even had that type of experience where you're maybe not getting the reaction from the crowd that you want, and it starts to affect the way you play, what you play, how you play it? Have you ever had like that type of?
Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody has a bad night. You know, Jordan had bad nights. You know what I'm saying? Obama had bad nights. You know what I'm saying? We could go through history, through life. You know, some of the greatest men in the world, some of the greatest women in the world have had some horrible, horrible bombing nights. No matter what you do, you just can't get out of your own way.
If you can remember, like, can you tell me like one of your just bomb nights, like what happened or how it went?
A bomb night for me. One time, this has got to be like 3 or 4 years ago now, but I was in Germany, and I left Germany and I came to London, and I had to do a show with Jazzy Jeff. And in my estimation, as it has been for all these years, oh, I'm on the bill with Jeff, I'm playing somewhere early in the lineup because it's fucking Jeff, like, duh. So we get to the venue, and the guy's like, yeah, man, so here's your green room, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, green room? I'm supposed to be on in like 30 minutes. I don't need a green room. I'm ready to check the booth and get ready. They're like, oh, no. Well, Jeff's gonna play before you. It's like, and Jeff was just tearing the paint off the walls in the building, and just bananas in there. And Jeff got finished, and the promoter announced me, and I played my first record, and 1/3 of the room was like, peace. We out. 1/3 of the room gone. Like I had, I'm not even 8 bars into the first record. That effect, I was like, whoa. And I played another record, like another bunch of people walked out. And I think I got like 7 records in, and the 600, 700 person room was fucking empty.
Damn. What did you do? Like at that?
Fucking played until the promoter caved in and was like, yeah, man, I guess it is kind of over, huh? I'm like, yeah, fam. Jeff rinsed the place. Jeff done burnt the skin off these niggas. What the fuck am I supposed to do with this? It ain't even like I was whack. I'm going after Jeff, so I got gusto. I got my gun in my pocket. I'm ready to go. But that was horrible. That was a terrible feeling. I felt like shit for like 5 days after that.
And that's crazy that at the level of your career, like that you could still have a night like that.
Anybody can get touched, man. It's just like the fight game. Anybody can get touched. Everybody got an X on their chin. Nothing is fucking guaranteed out here. You gotta tuck your chin, throw your punches clean, and pull that thing back to your chin after you throw it. Because it's a fight. All of this whole discussion is about the fight of it and the effort and considerations and the energy around it. Yeah, man, I had fucked up nights. Had many a fucked up night. But,
you're in a mental space where you can say, well, that was last night, tomorrow's a new day, and
If I shoot an air ball in the first quarter and 3 plays run to me, what do I do? Do I stop shooting? Absolutely not. The play, even if the play just runs to my position, not me. If I'm on the court and I miss a shot, that doesn't mean that when I'm disqualified from having plays run to me. The play was run to me because I can fucking shoot, right? So yeah, you in fighting, you know, the more you spar, the more you deal with someone holding pads, you start to understand range, you lose your flinch mechanism. You stop blinking when things come close to your face. You just deal with it. You deal with it. You win some, you lose some. Persistence and stick-to-itiveness are the 2 things that are going to get you through everything. And it's not all fun and games when you get to whatever level. I don't know what level people think that I'm on, but I know that there's a million guys and girls out in front of me who have and deserve a great deal of credit for me even having the opportunity to do what I do.
I mean, well, look what you just said, right? You playing in Germany and then went to London, and you know, so you can say you're an international, world-renowned working DJ.
I'm a working class disc jockey that people seem to want to talk nicely about. Thank God.
And that comes from, I mean, your reputation precedes itself, you know, because of your track record, your history in the game, your, you know, as I've known you, just to be a genuinely just a solid dude, like a good human being. And I think that carries over into, because that's how like motherfuckers will tell you here, like I come in and I'll speak to the bathroom attendant with the gum and the fucking lint roller the same way I speak to the GM. And everybody gets the same respect. And I think I've learned that from watching guys like you and Mark and Selwyn and you know, and just how to be a good human being first.
Be polite, man.
And then everything else kind of follows suit, you know, with that.
Don't cost no money to be polite. Cost no money and no energy to be polite. Being a dick is expensive and it burns a lot of gas. You always got your head on the swivel. It's like being a hustler. You ain't doing nobody no harm in your mind, but the things that you selling them is harming somebody. You always got you stressed out. You got your head on a swivel the whole time you doing anything because of fear of the law. You know, it becomes this conscience hustle. And that shit gets expensive as you get older, man. You just get like, I fucked that up. I've had enough situations where I've said the wrong thing.
In the DJ
Fucked up
world?
in life. Yeah. Been punched in my face for having a smart ass mouth. You know, I've come into a gym talking shit and got shut down on D. You know, I've come into a place thinking that I'm gonna rinse this place, and the crowd response is like, "Well, you cool." You know, you have to stay humble to everything.
It's like, you know, you can never tell, right? I'm always looking at crowds like you don't know what somebody went through that day, how they feeling, you know, because you really could be like, feel like you're killing that shit, but it's just not connecting the way you think it's gonna connect.
Yeah.
So you described like one of your worst nights, but can you think about like one of your better nights, like when it was absolutely obvious you crushed it and you had an amazing set?
This past Saturday at the 5-year anniversary for my home party was one of those. People in the room were in tune, you know, it was a destination. The people who were there really, really wanted to be there.
They knew what they were gonna get, what they were coming for.
I'm on the road. I'm in the middle of this big road run, so I'm getting a lot of touches, you know, so I'm loose, you know, I feel clear-headed and loose. I got the ball in my hands a lot, so I'm not worried about what's gonna happen on this court. When I step on this court, I'm gonna take all my open jumpers, and if I get a step on somebody might get banged on.
Yeah.
Depends.
Right. Is that the Jordan shrug when everything was just hitting, like you just, everything you shoot, every song you play was just money.
Yeah. Saturday night was a lot of that energy, but you know, I didn't know it until seeing my direct messages and my Instagram feed and some of the photographs from the party. You know, wasn't like in the middle of it like, yo, I'm killing it. Like I'm done with that game. You know, I did that game in my 20s. That's over. Like, yo, son, I'm killing it, right? I know. Like, nah, I can't do that no more, man. Yeah, my OGs would punch me in my face for behaving like that. But, you know, at the same time, it's nice to know that you're in a groove and you're in unison with the space. And if you want to downshift the car real quick, they're going to be like, whoa. They're not going to curse you.
Right.
They're going to be like, whoa, he's downshifting. You know what I'm saying? And that type of tribal call and response thing is always beautiful.
That makes me think back to APT on Wednesday nights. You know, like I mean, for me, because I didn't go out, you know, I was 21, 22, so I wasn't like a lot of my friends, a lot of my peers that were going out at 16, 17 and experiencing nightlife and sneaking in clubs and shit. So, you know, when Selwyn and them were taking me out to APT Wednesday nights, first of all, was that Little Ricky's Rib Shack? That was the name of that, but I knew it as Turntable, or when Mark was doing it.
Because Turntable was a Marksman event that would happen
In the midst of that.
almost like an after work vibe leading up to
the party. Yeah. I just, like, you know, I always have a memory in my mind of you and Cam, because he played with you there, right? And I said, you know, when people ask me, well, how would you describe your DJ style? Like, I always say, I want to be able to take people on a consistent groove to where they've been dancing for 10 minutes straight and don't even realize it. And that shit always takes me back to being at APT. And the vibe and the groove, and it was so small, but it was like unrivaled
so big
energy
at the
in
same
it,
time.
man. Yeah.
So big at the same time. And you bring up a good point, you know, about there's an art to letting it breathe. I think, you know, in club culture, DJ culture, in the pop realm, it's very staccato. It's a highlight reel. You gotta be always kinetic and doing something manual with the machines and always engaging and making people know and get them hype, and here comes the glitter, you know, and here comes the fucking pyrotechnics. Yeah, it's hype, and it's That has its place. But APT, as you were just stating, you put a Shaka Khan record on and let that thing run until she finishes her point. It's those little nuances that keep the ladies in the room, actually. You might want to hear Homeboy backspin the intro for 32 bars straight with 5 different cutting techniques, but your girl wants to hear the third verse.
Right. And you can't go wrong when you cater to the ladies or keep the ladies as
Without the ladies, why we here?
Why we here? Right.
Why you here?
Don't want to be in a sword fight.
If I'm gonna be in a sword fight, I'm gonna be in a sword fight at my own crib, at no expense, and everybody else gotta leave. Y'all gotta go. Have a couple of my boys over, watch the game, have some drinks, listen to some music, pop some shit, and then kick rocks. You know, but otherwise, yeah. I mean, this is a social environment. It's a social environment where people across culture, gender, and everything else are meant to engage.
You know, that makes me, you know, it makes me think of something Ray Murray from Organized Noise said on their documentary. He was saying something about how, you know, in the digital world, everything is so, like you said, it's like quick. But he was saying how, you know, back in the day, you know, records used to be 7 minutes long and 10 minutes long because you got 3.5 minutes into it, and that's when the shit got beautiful. That's when you start to get the
idea of the 12-inch single, right? I mean, The promo, the original radio promo was 7-inch record. The song was 2 minutes and change long. The long playing 12-inch coming about when it did, that changed everything. And it had to do with enough space in the beginning to mix with another record without cacophony, without two vocalists arguing with each other, without one harmony fighting with this melody from this other song, and outro space to do the same. So, you know, that's a tool. That's a very, very, very key component of the vocabulary of what we do. Even in Serato world, unless you got the 10-inch plates or you feeling frisky and you want to play on the 7-inch plates, you're still playing on a 12-inch platter, you know? So the staccato thing for turntablism in certain pockets of hip-hop culture, particularly DJing for MCs and the battle environment, it takes full precedence, that staccato and that aggression and all that technique. But more often than not, the ladies aren't sticking around. Nah, not really. Not unless you're doing it at the level of a Jazzy Jeff or a DJ Scratch or a Scratch Bastard or, you know, all the other cats that translate that hyper technical stuff to the dance floor very well.
Also, I was going to ask you, like, how integral is that technique of spinning to a average night out at a party, in your opinion?
I think it depends on the DJ, it depends on the clientele, and it depends on how the event is being pitched. What is this? Is this a battle of turntablists? Okay, we're here to see a battle. Is it turntablist cats that can rock a party, and that's what's being pitched? Then we're gonna get that. So integral, I don't know. I don't know if mixing and scratching, even if you're just baby cueing in your headphones to set you up for a mix, are, without those two things, the whole notion of blending records doesn't exist. So, you know, we kind of going into the onion a little bit. So it's vital in that sense. But I mean, I've gone 2-3 years at a time at APT over the 10 years I was there, not scratching a single record.
Wow. Because you felt like that it wasn't the room for that?
I didn't have to. And I was taking on technology. I went from all records to records and some CD cases. And with the CD cases, I could cue it different. And I was uncomfortable with cutting on the CD platter, so I would do a lot of drops with the pause, and so that became my scratching for a minute as I was getting my head around those machines and how to really exploit the machine and use all the hot buttons and all the shit that they put in there, you know. So it hasn't been vital for me night after night. It's vital that I have the tool so that when I'm in the woodshed with cats that really get busy on the turntables level, I don't play myself. You know, I don't want to go fighting above my weight class.
Right.
That's stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's vital in that sense.
Right.
And then without taking it to the really, really technical side, trying to get technical is the best practice any of us could handle.
Yeah.
Why not? Why are you not working on your technique?
Right.
You got dope?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, I guess, I always equate it to basketball. Like, I had a conversation, on another episode where I was saying that, different ball players have different strengths and weaknesses. And you got the ball player like a LeBron who can pretty much do everything, skill set wise. Then you have somebody maybe like a John Paxson that can only hit the three, but they're both in the NBA. They both got drafted. They're both, champions, they contribute to the overall sport in their own way, and they know what their strengths and weaknesses are. And you know, kind of going back to a lot of the flack that I got about knowing my weaknesses, or weakness more so is maybe the turntablist aspect of the craft, but I know my strengths are in the blending and in the setting that groove, that continuous flow and telling a story musically, you know. And I just, you know, being 11 years into it, some people scoff at that and they say, nigga, it's only been 11 years, like you ain't done shit. But to me, I feel like I've done so much in such a condensed period of time. Maybe that's attributed to the technology allowing me to advance quicker. You know, maybe because I never owned DJ equipment, so all my learning came in the moment, in front of rooms, in front of the Classic Sundays Love Hate crowd, in front of this room for the past 6 years. You know, so I had to learn how to read the room, you know, in the moment. But, you know, I think we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, but I don't think that I'm at a point now where I'm not looking at another DJ's weakness and saying that that makes him any less, you know, worthy of being in the game. You know what I mean?
And nobody gives a fuck about your opinion.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And even worse, from us, from the position that we're in, it comes off as judgment.
Yes.
Who wants to listen to somebody who's judgmental?
Right. Right.
How can you expect people to give you their time if they're watching you pass judgment unnecessarily? Mm-hmm. Who the fuck do you think you are? Right. You know what I mean? Right. Anybody. Right. That goes across the board. Right. Top of the food chain to the weakest weakling. Right. Who the fuck are you to talk like that? Right. You that dope? Okay. Prove it. Prove it. Because now everybody got a chip on their shoulder at you. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, man, I mean, we have to be careful in the 21st century of how we present our ideas. Because the way we present our ideas, there's somebody in the world that thinks that you're the biggest superstar in the world. There's another person in the world that thinks you're the biggest superstar in the world, and they can't fucking stand you for it. Mm-hmm. And you have to be, you, me, all of us, mm-hmm. have to be consistent through that whole bell curve of motherfuckers. Yeah. So the minute you start deciding to engage the pop off, you're just making your target bigger. Yeah. You know, then soon the target becomes bigger than you. Right. It's easier to hit. Right. Now you trap the fuck off. Where you gonna go? Right. At that point, how do you redeem your credibility? How do you redeem the idea that you're a humble person once you've been proved to be an arrogant motherfucker? Mm-hmm. We've all seen it happen. Yeah. It's the proverbial bully in high school story. Yeah. He's a bully until somebody comes and bullies him. Right. And then for the rest of the fucking school year, probably the rest of his high school career, or anytime he steps out of his house in that neighborhood, he's a fucking clown. Yeah. And he deserves it. Right. But he also deserves a chance for retribution. True. So you got all these things that, you know, you keep bringing up these points about things that must be considered. Mm-hmm. And we do have to consider 360 degrees worth of perspective and emotion in order to not allow this shit to get to your head. Get to your head. And let you believe that your shit don't stink. Right. It's very, very easy to fall into that box. Yeah. You know, it's one of the biggest boxes in the world. Right. It's the box. Right? Yeah. For men. For men. No matter what. Whether you're dealing with women, whether you're dealing with your career, whether you're dealing with finances, ego, style, whatever. Yeah. You know? Yeah. We have to be careful the way we present our ideas. Right. A buddy of mine, I'll leave it nameless, but he saw me in a situation one time where there was a disruptive dude at the event, and it got under my skin. And I was going to address him directly myself. And my man grabbed me by the arm, and he said, I believe in you, but you know, if you keep opening that door, somebody's going to walk through it one day. Ew, nigga, what? Yo, I'm a grown ass man. I'm in my 40s.
Yeah.
This guy says this shit to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, nigga, what the fuck did you just say? He was like, you don't need to address this.
Right.
Just
let it go.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Just like that. Sit down. Like a child.
Right.
Sat down. And sure enough, 30 minutes later, the guy was in a confrontation with somebody in security. And the guy was like, you know, like a real deal fight guy. Mm-hmm. Like a real deal. Mm-hmm. Like it was a problem.
Right.
A big problem.
Yeah.
A problem that was way above my pay grade. I was going to address him on principle.
Right.
Because he was out of pocket.
Right.
Somebody smarter than me.
I was like, nah, just...
Back to that shit. It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Coachability.
Yeah.
If I was a child, if I was a petulant child or a hothead, I might have tried to skate by my man and get that off.
Right.
At least get a sneak off.
Right.
Or something.
Right.
But what good is that going to do? How's that going to fix the situation?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of eyes on us, man.
Yeah.
There's happy eyes, and there's pissed off eyes, jealous
hating eyes, yeah.
The whole
everything.
Ecosystem.
Yeah.
We have to be
vigilant.
there.
Yeah.
Through it all.
Yeah.
Treat the wild drunk dude with the same gusto that you treat the nicest guy in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Nope.
I think I felt this. I can't hear you.
My bad. I'm moving around too much.
You hear him?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, say that one part in because I need that on. Treat the gusto, the wild dude with the same gusto.
You gotta treat everybody with the same level of respect. You know? From the drunkest, rowdiest guy in the room to the nicest guy you meet. From the girl that comes up to you and says some wild bullshit to you while you DJing. And in your mind, you think she's making a request, but she's actually just drunk and bugging out. To the nicest woman you meet that she don't even flirt with you. She actually just comes up to you and says something about your style or your presentation and keeps it pushing. Across the bell curve of those people, our obligation at a particular age and experience level is to be consistent. And part of that consistency is being fucking polite, man, and being open to giving people the opportunity to have their moment. If people want to have a moment with you, give it to them. Who the fuck do you think you are? Elvis, nigga? You Prince in this motherfucker? It's not, oh, you can't, you too busy for a picture?
Right.
Get the fuck out of here. You know? All those little things, man. People will come to appreciate it.
Rich, I thank you, my brother.
Appreciate you,
I appreciate that. It's a long time coming. It's about 15, 18 years, but
It's
actually
been a
never had a
minute.
chance to really like build and dissect, you know, vision, man.
Hope I was
This
able to put
is
something
cool.
on the table for you.
No, it's a lot of jewels, man. It's a lot of jewels. I'm actually gonna apply tonight.
Nice.
In here, because we just getting ready to get shit going
Yeah,
here.
you about
and,
to put the gas in the car, right?
Yeah, and you know, get it going, man. But this is very much appreciated.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
Nah, it's all love, baby. Blessing.
All right,
Blessing.